Good afternoon YouTube, welcome back to another Division 2 video. Today we look at factions in the Division 2. Now for very obvious reasons we will start off with the only faction to be officially announced so far, and that is the True Sons. Now before we go too far, let me point out that there is an official intelligence annex on the True Sons on the official Division website, and if you've yet to check it out then I suggest you do so, and the link to that article can be found in the description box down below. With that aside, let's just jump into it. So, who are the True Sons? Well, the short answer is they are a paramilitary group that wants to be top of the food chain when all is said and done. The longer answer is a lot more interesting though. See, the True Sons aren't just any old paramilitary group that formed when civilization fell to its knees. In fact, they were at one stage humanity's hope, as the founding members of the group are all former JTF and at one point were tasked with helping humanity recover and rebuild. But, as you can probably guess, things went in a very different direction, shall we say. This all started when their now leader, Colonel Antoine Ridgway, ended up finding his way into a JTF stockade for things that went far beyond the normal JTF playbook. Being in the stockades, however, did not stop the Colonel, and he was eventually set free, and his actions after this event definitely broke away from the JTF's directive. Colonel Ridgway would go on to gather men formerly under his command and execute all members of the JTF that had held him prisoner because in his eyes he had done nothing wrong and the JTF were incapable of doing what needed to be done in a bid to save the city. Now some say that this was the moment the True Sons were born. Me, personally, I think the faction's footings were born long before this tragic event when the Colonel first posted guards around the Roosevelt Islands quarantine zone and ordered his men to keep all of the sick and infected on the island at all costs. But it wasn't until his arrest that he finally decided to snap, and all his actions did after this was bring attention to his unorthodox methods and finally become a defining moment for him to break away from the JTF and form what we all now know as the True Sons. Now, in terms of backstory, we know very little, but it is safe to say that there will be a lot of in-game lore surrounding Colonel Ridgway and his men and the things they got up to, and I personally can't wait to get into the game and find out more. I imagine some very dark things took place between Ridgway breaking away and the arrival of our agents, but what exactly they are, we'll have to wait and see. Now, if you've been around the channel long enough, then you will know that lore is something personally I love. Even though I've never actually made videos on it, I love reading the in-game articles and listen to all the recordings, as to me, the game is more than just a game. It's a story, and I absolutely love stories. So, I am thinking about bringing something new to the channel in March, and that is lore videos for the Division 2. But to be honest, that will only be something I do if you guys want to see it. So, sound off in the comment section down below if this is something you would like to see me do in the future. Moving on now then, because the official intelligence annex not only explained a little about the True Sons as a faction, but it went on to mention changes to NPC behaviour and characteristics, so I want to cover them next. So it would seem that NPC AI has had a major overhaul for the Division 2, and to be honest we had kind of guessed that from gameplay trailers and the E3 demo, but now we have it in an official capacity, we can start to talk about it. So it seems as if the NPCs in game have become a lot smarter. Now you would expect this with the True Sons because they are highly trained and very battle proven, but to actually see and read about it makes me very happy. You see, now when you engage with the game's NPCs, they should be a lot more proactive in taking cover and using maneuvers like flanking, but they will also have their very own characteristic and unique behaviour, and this is something that wasn't the greatest in the Division 1. Frequently you would find yourself shooting at an NPC that would be stood out in the open, shooting wildly in your direction. Well, hopefully now that will no longer be the case, as they should be a lot smarter, and if I was to hazard a guess, I would say that the mechanics behind the Division 1's hunters may have had something to do with this. The annex goes on to say, and I quote, "True Sons are very combat competent. Training and discipline is important to them, which becomes apparent when their strategic approach. When you engage in battle with the Sons, they will spread out and come at you from every angle. This means that you will have to keep moving and look over your shoulder at all times. When you start picking them off and they become fewer in numbers, their behaviour will change. They will get more desperate and erratic, which will lead them to eventually give up on their strategy and charge at you to take you down at all costs." Now, this is definitely something that was noticeable in all of the gameplay we saw from E3, and I'm very much interested to see just how good the AI now feels when we're fighting it. The article doesn't end there either, guys, because it goes on to talk about NPC archetypes, of which the True Sons have 10. Now, we don't actually know all of them, but we can name a few that were noticed in the gameplay trailers and demos that have been put out there for all to see. So, up first we have the medic. This is the one covered in the Intelligence Annex. Next we have the shotgunners. These are clearly visible in some of the gameplay trailers. It looks like the technical / engineers will also return, as we've seen these in gameplay too. Then there are assault types, snipers, grenadiers, immobilizers. These are the guys that we've actually seen running around shooting riot foam. And of course we have the Juggernaut. Now I'm sure we have all seen this dude, as he appears at the end of the control point gameplay that has been showcased on about every YouTube video since June, and well, pretty much all of the official gameplay reveals from Ubisoft themselves. And as of the time of recording this, that's about all the information we know about faction archetypes. Now, I am 100% sure, guys, that there are at least several other factions in game, and I wouldn't believe that every faction has the same archetypes as the others. So it will be very interesting to see what else Massive have up their sleeves in terms of NPC design. Now, I could go on to talk about a few other things the Intelligence Annex covered, but I'd rather wait until we have some more information before I do that, as to cover it now would have to mean a lot of speculation, and that's not really something I would prefer to do over waiting and having a bit more fact. For the time being, we're going to leave it at that. As I said before, if you want to go and read the Intelligence Annex itself, then I will leave a link in the video description. But for now, as always, thank you very much for watching. Have a great evening, and until the next one, I'll catch you all soon.